Today, we're going to talk about a really powerful transformation that's happening in sales. It's this idea of going from a manual data miner to a strategic research architect. And we're going to do it by following the story of a sales professional, Sarah, who used AI to completely change her job and, well, her results.
Okay, let's just dive right in. Picture this. On one side, you have the world so many of us live in, right? Hunched over a screen, maybe 15 tabs open, just drowning in noise trying to find something, anything. And on the other side, you have the future. Calm, focused, looking at a clean dashboard with just a handful of high-intent leads. This isn't science fiction. This is the journey from data miner to research architect. The big question is, how do you actually get there?
It all starts with this number, 0.8%. I mean, just let that sink in. That is the brutally low reply rate for generic spray and pray cold outreach. It's a dead end. Honestly, this single statistic is the whole reason the old way of doing things is just broken. It's why this change isn't just a nice to have, it's an absolute necessity.
So if you want to build something new, you've got to understand what's wrong with the old thing first. So let's start by diagnosing the core problem, this hidden cost that just drains the life and productivity out of sales teams everywhere. They call it the friction tax. For Sarah, this was a real thing. It was 4 hours. 4 hours every single day spent on stuff like manually checking if a lead was even the right person to talk to. It's that invisible hamster wheel of low-value work that keeps reps busy, but stops them from actually, selling.
And here's the thing. It's not just about the wasted time. That's not the real cost. The true cost of this friction tax is losing the moments where the magic happens. Those high-stakes discovery calls, where human empathy and intuition, the stuff AI can't do, are the things that actually win you the deal. So how did Sarah tackle this? Well, her solution was built on this framework called the 7P compass. We're going to walk through some of the key parts, and it all starts with the first one, purpose. This is about completely rethinking the goal of the work itself.
This quote really reframes the whole conversation, doesn't it? The point wasn't just to make Sarah faster. It was to get those 4 hours back so she could achieve something way more valuable. It's a huge shift from just thinking about efficiency to focusing on true effectiveness.
So Sarah and her engineer, Alex, they followed this really simple but powerful blueprint. First, they pinpointed her specific friction tax, that soul-crushing loop between LinkedIn and a spreadsheet. We've all been there. Second, they defined what they'd do with the time they got back, double her most important calls. And third, and this is so important, they set a critical guardrail. The AI can find things, it can summarize things, but a human is always in control. The AI is never allowed to hit send.
All right, so with the clear purpose locked in, it was time to actually build a machine to do all the heavy lifting. This part covers the platforms and pipelines pillars of that compass we mentioned. This is the engine room for her whole new workflow. And this is just a brilliant example of something called the Frankenstein stitch. Instead of buying one big, clunky platform, they wove together a flexible stack of the best tools for each job. So NN is the trigger, Clay does the scraping, Perplexity handles the deep research, and Claude does the summarizing. Each piece is like a Lego block, modular and swappable.
So let's see how this thing actually builds a great lead from just a raw signal. It starts with a trigger. Boom, a new public filing is detected. Then, the system scrapes it for a specific key phrase. If it finds it, that triggers the next step, research. It goes and finds relevant stuff, like a recent podcast with the CEO. And finally, it summarizes that podcast into custom value hooks Sarah can use right away. It's all automated from raw data to actionable intelligence.
But look, all that automation is totally useless if the data is stale, right? So Sarah insisted on this golden rule. It's a really simple but powerful principle that ensures she only ever acts on fresh, relevant intelligence. Anything older than 48 hours, it's just noise. Filtered out. Gone.
Okay, now this part is absolutely critical. The tech is powerful, for sure, but the human is always in command. This gets into the people and principles pillars, and it's all about making sure there's a smart human in the loop. This shows the perfect division of labor. The AI's job, do the grunt work, find the lead, summarize the signal. Sarah's job as the human operator, to provide the wisdom, to review the context, apply her expertise, and, when it's needed, hit the veto button.
And through this whole process, Sarah really evolved beyond just being a salesperson. She became what's called a purple person, which is this blend of deep domain knowledge, that's the blue part, with this solid understanding of the technical logic of the system she's using, the red part.
Red and blue make purple. Pretty cool, right?
And here is a perfect example of why that's so valuable. The AI flagged a company that looked great on paper, but Sarah knew they just had massive layoffs. Her feedback wasn't just, nope, bad lead. It was a strategic insight that made the whole system smarter. She told her engineer, hey, we need to add a filter for employee sentiment. That move proves the incredible value of keeping an expert human in the loop. So, after architecting this new purpose and building this human AI engine, what actually happened? What did this new way of working achieve? Well, the results, which fall under the performance pillar, are, well, they're pretty dramatic. You can literally see the learning curve here. In week 1, Sarah was overriding 40% of what the AI suggested. But just 3 weeks later, after all her feedback and calibration, that rate dropped to a really healthy 15%. The system was actually learning from her expertise in real time. And the impact on speed was just as huge. Her lead to meeting cycle, which is a super critical sales metric, was slashed from a painful 2 weeks all the way down to just 3 days. I mean, that is a transformative change to her entire sales process. And get this, the economics are just staggering. Each one of these highly vetted, intelligence-packed gold leads cost just over $1 in API fees. When your average deal is worth $50,000, the return on that investment becomes an absolute no-brainer. So here it is, the entire journey, all laid out by the 7P compass. From defining the purpose all the way to measuring performance, this gives you a really practical blueprint for how you could think about transforming any knowledge-based work, really, not just sales. So if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. This whole shift isn't about using AI to just find more leads faster. It's about fundamentally elevating your strategic role. It's the difference between being a hunter on the ground with a spear and being a general in a command center with a satellite view of the entire battlefield. And that leaves us with a final question for you to think about. If you could just eliminate your own friction tax, whatever that looks like for you, and get 4 hours back in your day, what is the single most valuable thing you would do at that time? What would you tackle first?